Some stories just make me wonder, is this the world's worst criminal? We have all been told that it's not fair to judge a book by its cover, but what if that cover has several troubling references? Wade Wilson shares the same name with the iconic comic book and film character Deadpool. However, if you looked at him, you'd think he more idolized the Joker. The 30-year-old Florida man has numerous tattoos on his face, and while that in itself is no sign that someone is a bad person, this man would later become known as the Deadpool Killer. His facial tattoos include a stitched-up smile, the number 666, the shadow of a skull on one side of his face, and a swastika on the other. Across his neck is the statement, "Bred for war." Maybe it should have said, "Bred for crime." He had previously been charged with sexual battery and kidnapping back in 2015, but was acquitted. He would later admit to sexually assaulting an ex-girlfriend. However, investigators chose not to pursue those charges. 35-year-old local waitress Christine Melton likely didn't know about Wilson's close calls with justice. She invited Wilson back to her Cape Coral home after they met at a bar on October 6, 2019. She might have thought that she was playing it safe considering that her roommate was with them. But when the roommate left the following morning, Christine saw the true face of Wade Wilson. He strangled her to death and stole her car. Wilson then used her phone to call his girlfriend, Melissa Montanez. He drove to the spa that Melissa works at, but she wouldn't get in the car with him. He assaulted her in the parking lot and left. Melissa would call police and report that attack. However, it seemed that Wilson was already looking for his next victim. 43-year-old Diane Ruiz was simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. The engaged mother of two was walking to work when Wilson asked her for directions. He lured her into the car, where she was also attacked and strangled, then thrown from the car and run over numerous times by Wilson. It's estimated that he drove the car over her body 10 to 20 times. Hours later, Wilson walked into a store and told the owner that he needed a ticket, any kind of ticket. As his ranting continued, he admitted to killing people and said that he had to leave. After he left the store, the owner called it in to 911. Police were already on the lookout for Wilson based on the attack of his girlfriend earlier that day. They got the tip that he was sitting in the parking lot of a Joe's Crab Shack. The approaching officer played it smart, only speaking with Wilson as he was waiting for his backup to arrive. He had no idea that he was interacting with a man that had killed 2 people in the previous 6 hours. Wilson told the officer that he was waiting for his girlfriend, but after having the officer explain that he would be detained when his backup arrived, Wilson drove off. He contacted his birth father, Stephen Testaseca, and told him about the murders. Quote, "He just told me he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, 'I'm a killer.'" He then asked his birth father for an Uber ride to get out of town. Thankfully, Stephen told Wade that the Uber was on its way, but he called the U.S. Marshals instead. When asked why he made that choice, Stephen said that he knew his son would have done it again. Wade Wilson wound up in custody and with charges of grand theft, petty theft, burglary, battery, and of course, 2 counts of first-degree murder. At trial, Wade would sometimes wear clothing looking like a comic book character, brightly colored suits, or dark contrasts like all black and red. He seemed at times to be performing for the cameras, with snide smirks shot in their direction. His defense attorneys would paint the picture of a man riddled by drug addiction and suffering from mental illness. Wade would not take the stand to defend himself. The prosecution highlighted the brutal attacks, noting that Diane's death in particular showed clear premeditation. They also had a key witness, Wade Wilson's biological father. On August 27, 2024, Circuit Judge Nicholas Thompson called the murders heinous, atrocious, and cruel. Wilson was found guilty of all charges. Even though a few members of the jury would not support the death penalty in this case, a bill recently passed in Florida has lowered the former standard of a unanimous decision. Now, a death sentence can be issued with as little as 8 jury votes, and Wilson got 9 for Christine Melton's murder and 10 for the murder of Diane Ruiz. Judge Thompson told the court that he had no reason to override their recommendation, as several people in the courtroom cheered. State Attorney Amira Fox said, "I've been doing this 34 years, and I have to say, I have never seen someone as evil as Wade Wilson." However, Wilson, maybe once again tapping into the character that he's been so closely associated with, seemingly had to get in the last word. His lawyers requested that he be taken to death row as soon as possible. Several family members of Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz have stated that they want to be there when his final sentence is carried out. The date for that is still unknown.